Hey engineers, in the last video we talked about Gemini's new image generation capabilities, and in this video we'll be taking a look at structured output, which is a feature that allows LLMs to provide predictable output. Let's dive in.
Okay guys, for today's tutorial, like I said, we'll be covering structured output, which unlocks superpowers for you as a developer to be able to create very powerful applications. As usual, the notebook will be available in the description. Please get it, try this yourself, and for you to be able to try this, you will need the Google API key, which you can get by provisioning one from Google AI Studio and enabling the notebook to access it. Also, some resources that I think you should always have bookmarked is the Gemini API documentation and also the cookbook by other developers out there about Gemini. So let's just go through our outline for today. We'll be covering what structured output is and what it means in Gemini. We'll be covering how to request JSON with the response meme type. We'll be seeing how to constrain the shape of our response using response schema, and we'll see how to use enums to decide between various options. And I will just tell you the notes and limitations that I found and also things that I've seen in the documentation. Before we proceed to what structured output is, let's just go over the setup instructions. You just need to install this. If you've been following the series, you know that this is our first step. We need to get Gemini installed and just wait for it to run. But while that is working, let us go over what structured output is. So structured output is a way of telling Gemini or any other LLM or model out there how to return data or the format you want data to be returned to you. Say for example, you're building an application that should basically classify the recipes that the user imports, and you want Gemini to be able to generate different variations or meal options for them. You could specify a response schema, like for example, give of class recipe, give me say the title of the food, the ingredients, the quantity, the amount, and specify it as JSON, and Gemini would ensure that the response that it returns meets that format. And the Docker likes two types of structured output. One, the JSON, which is the most popular, and also the enum output. And I will be showing you how to get both of them in this tutorial. In terms of general JSON output, you can just specify to Gemini without even doing any other thing. Just specify the response meme type as application JSON and tell Gemini to return a JSON object with fields, title, and two tags. This is just an example of a prompt, and when you run this, you will see that, for example, Gemini returns title, my awesome blog post, and tags, technology and programming. And you see that you can actually deserialize the JSON immediately because we told Gemini to return JSON, right? But in my experience, this is not the best way to do it, and this is not guaranteed to always return valid JSON to you, and which is why in Python you can use something like the Pydantic schema to ensure that you are constraining your model response to a specific format, right? So for example, the way to do this, if you're familiar with Python, you know Pydantic, we need to have a base model and we inherit from that base model, and then we can specify our fields, right? So for here I have the class movie genre. If this is quite foreign to you, this is just a new way in Python, I think 11 or 12 and upwards, that you could automatically assign values to your enum fields. And so for example, I have action and I'm just specifying that I want the action to be lowercase action auto, and I specify the auto function, and that ensures that it automatically handles this. While previously what you'd have needed to do is also specify action. I can't type today, but this is handled using the auto keyword, right? So if we just run this, we will then see that, okay, for generating enum types, again, I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. If you've been following our series, you'd have been seeing a few Easter eggs here and there. But for enum type, what you need to do is you need to specify the response meme type as text x.enum. If you remember, we specified the response meme type as application JSON, but for this you specify it as enum. And when would you use enum type? You use enum type in classification tasks where you want Gemini to select from a list of choices. For example, you are trying to build a query routing service that for a specific query in natural language, you can route it to different services. You can leverage the Gemini enum type to select one out of the options. Say for example, you have a database service, you have a document service, you have a search service. You can use Gemini to choose which of these choices does this query match to the most, right? And I say out of all the movie genres, which of them does Ted Lasso belong to, and then we pass the response scheme as movie genre, and then we get comment. I thought Ted Lasso was an action movie. Don't mind me, I'm just joking. Now for JSON response, right? This is where it gets interesting. Instead of specifying the response being type of x.enum, you specify application.json, but then you can then constrain it further and get a Python Pydantic class or object once Gemini has finished generating, and then you can pass it and basically get it. So for example, we pass the movie class that we previously defined that has a list of genres, and then we also specify the prompt. We do recommend I watch as someone who likes Ted Lasso, right? And we pass the response schema, and then we get the passed version, and then we print it. And if you run this, we should get a response. Awesome. So Gemini suggests we watch Little Miss Sunshine. I'll have to check that out. And it says the genre is of movie genre comedy or movie genre drama, right? So yeah guys, this has been structured output, and I know this looks little right now, but imagine the kind of applications you could build when you know Gemini is always going to provide the exact same response to you in the format you want it. So let's just go over some notes and limitations. I need you to know this right now. It's always better to pass a Pydantic schema to Gemini so that it uses the Pydantic schema to constrain the response. Do not rely on just JSON without passing a Pydantic schema. It is not guaranteed to always return valid JSON for you. And if you're writing a language like Python that you have a lot of superpowers that Pydantic exposes to you, why don't you take advantage of it? Another thing is schema size counts towards your input token. So as you pass the schema, it's also counted as an input token, which could also affect your billing. So be mindful of that and be very careful with large or complex schemas, because that can fail. So what I would advise is you handle that definitely, but you also find a way to maybe split your generation workflow into multi-steps or leverage something like the batching mode. And so for recap, what have we covered today? We've seen how to request JSON with the response name type and specify an application of JSON. We've seen how to constrain shape with the response schema, and we pass two types, either a Pydantic schema or, for example, an enum class. We've seen how to return a single allowed value with enums, and we've seen that also the schema size counts towards the token, field options by default, and validators are not also supported yet. I should have mentioned that validators are not supported yet, and you should also handle errors, right? And you should also handle errors. So that's it guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this useful, please like it, subscribe, and leave a comment of what you'd like to see next. For our next video, we'll be covering file upload, which unlocks the many things that we could build using Gemini. Please stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.